All right, let's let you chew on this. Hey, Scout. This is Scout, the puppy, and this is his roadmap to success. He's not super tactile, and so I'm using these treats here to provide a little bit of affection for him. One of the things you can do is pet a dog in a circular motion on their chest in slow circles. That can, a lot of dogs actually like that. What I'm doing is taking the small Tricky Trainer treat, I'm smashing it so it's like a pancake, and letting him nibble on it while I tickle him, tickle his chest a little bit. So again, creating a positive association. Now, some of the things I'd like the guardians to do is, I told the kids that petting a dog is our way of saying thank you. So I noticed that the family was all petting him for doing things they didn't want him to do. Anything your dog is doing when you pet it, or your puppy or dog, you're rewarding. So if he jumps up and we pet him, we're rewarding him. If he jumps on the furniture and we pick him up, we're rewarding him. So instead, we'd like to redirect him by asking him to sit or lay down, or come to us, or just do something and then pet him for doing that. So if he jumps up on you, stand up straight, tell him to sit. And as soon as he sits, pet him under his chin, say the word sit. Just sit, not good sit, just sit. The more that we do this, the more the dog will start to seek out those activities, because those are the things that gets him the attention. Let me see. Passive training is also going to go a long ways with Scout. So passive training is basically rewarding the dog after it does the thing that you want it to do, and the dog does it voluntarily on its own volition. So every time the dog comes to you, as long as it doesn't jump up or do something inappropriate, if it comes to you, pet him and say come. If he sits down next to you, pet him and say sit. If he lays down next to him, pet him and say lay. After a while, if you do this enough, then he will start to do those things when you actually ask him the command to do it. He's more inclined to do it because, yeah, I've been rewarded for that over and over and over again. We want to avoid saying good dog or good, or using the word good before we say a command. The more words we use, the more confusing it is for dogs. Let me see. We went through the focus exercise. I didn't shoot a video on that, but if you go to doggonproblems.com and search, click the dog training tips page, you'll find a search box on the right side of the page. You can type in focus, and a bunch of write-ups where I've done the focus exercise with videos that explain it for other clients will come up. Now, one of the kids in the family is not a big fan of Scouts when he's rambunctious. So I talk a lot about putting a dog in position to succeed, and one of the ways we can do that is by burning off his excess energy. Now, in this case, what I would do is I have a little methodology where I come up with for the kids, where if the kids pet the dog with a purpose, or pet him after he does something, then they get a reward. Maybe an M&M gets dropped into their jar. Then at the end of the day, the girls get to dump the jars on their dinner plate, count up the M&Ms. Whoever had the most gets a special reward. Now, because one of the children is more interested in playing with the dog than the other, maybe we game it a little bit, so maybe there's 2 M&Ms for every engagement or something like that initially. One of the things that I came up with was some dogs will like to chase a laser. Now, some dogs, they do it and it's not healthy. He had a nice, healthy interest in it, but it wasn't overboard. So one of the things I would suggest is maybe we get the child who's a little bit reticent around the dog, a little necklace, and we put the laser on it. So if the dog's kind of getting too close to her and she wants to move away, she puts it on the floor in front of the dog and kind of runs the arrow away, or the dot away. And so now the dog has gone and looked for something else, and she has a nice way of moving the dog away from her. But we'd like to get her engaging with the dog more often. And so I went through a focus exercise, and he responded really, really well to it. What I'd like to see happening is maybe the child is behind dad or mom, and when the dog doesn't look up, we blow. But the problem is he's only going to do that initially. So now he's going to probably start looking up faster and faster. Now for the focus exercise, something I forgot to mention, at first it's 1 second, 1 second. Eventually it's 1 second, 20 seconds on that second movement. But you get there very progressively. So watch the video, search for a focus video. Maybe each day we try to add 1 extra second. The idea is to get the dog to look at our face for longer and longer periods of time. What I'd love to see happen is maybe we have dad or mom doing the focus exercise, and maybe the child is sitting next to mom or dad. And so the dad does 2 or 3 of them, and then the child does 1. And then the dad does 2 or 3 of them, the child does 1. And so the more that we do that with the adult, the dog's kind of warming up and knows what's expected. And then when the child does it, it's probably going to be apt to do the same thing, just look up and get that treat. But now we're also doing things that the dog likes doing. Now, another thing that we might want to do is I had a dog in Santa Monica where it was just very fearful of men. And the dad, kids was fine with, but not men. And the dad didn't do anything wrong. The dog came to the house with his baggage. What I did is I showed him how to teach the dog to catch as a way of engaging with the dog. The nice thing is the dog, in this case, didn't want to be touched by the man. In this case, the child doesn't want to be touched by the dog. And she doesn't like putting the treats in the dog's mouth. Now, I have a friend in Santa Monica, in Venice, actually, he lives in Culver City now, who said, my dog can't catch. And he would throw the treat, it would hit the dog's nose and bounce off and land on the ground, and the dog would just lick it up. Well, the dog has no motivation to catch it out of the air because I can just catch it there or get it on the floor. So what we do is I would probably have mom and dad do this first. We take a treat and little pieces. These are training treats, but these are pretty rich. Actually, we've given him a lot, so we want to be careful he doesn't have any liquid stools. But basically what you do is maybe use the other, or even actually use kibble for a dog this age. So what I would do is I toss the treat. Now what screws up a lot of dogs is they go 1, 2, 3, and then we toss the fourth one. The dog's like 1, 2, where the hell? And then when we throw it, it hits them in the head. So don't do a wind up, just do 1. And release it on your 1, and try to do it such a good throw that it goes in his mouth. Have somebody else kneeling right next to the dog. If the dog does not catch it, we pick it up and give it back to that person. So the only way I get the treat is by catching it. Now I have motivation to go get it. So if we can teach him how to catch, this would be a great way for her to maybe even feed him. And if we're going to set up the puppy playroom like I talked about, she could go into the puppy playroom, be on the outside of the gate so the dog can't get to her. She can grab a handful of his kibble and toss it into the deal, and he gets to catch. Now they're going to engage with each other. She'll probably enjoy doing it. And the dog looks at her as a provider of nourishment, which makes her more authoritative. And because the gate's between her and the dog, that might help her feel psychologically a little bit more protected and be more interested in engaging. I would come up with some sort of a metric or a chart or something where each day we're asking her to do just one more step. So maybe the first day is just one focus exercise, just one treat. Maybe next day it's 2 of those, or 1 of those, and another option is to walk the dog around the house, have the dog on a leash. Now we don't want to have the dog on a leash in the house unsupervised. It could get it caught on something and injure itself. But if she comes home and he's being rambunctious, maybe putting him on a leash and having her walk around the house wouldn't be a bad thing to do. But burning off excess energy and putting him in position to succeed will go a long way. So my recommendation would be to, yes, you got a little gas, don't you? Would be to take him to doggy daycare and to time it up so that he comes home about a half an hour before the kids come home. Now dogs sleep 17 hours a day, so if he's at daycare for 6 hours, he's eclipsed that 6-hour window that he would normally be awake all day long. So if we do that, we put him in a position to succeed because he doesn't have as much excess energy, and she feels more comfortable because he's closer to the puppy that was more sedate when she first got him. And so that's going to make him more interesting and appealing to her. We want to push the agenda without pushing it too far. I'd like to continue the daily walks because those are definitely good things to do. We went over carrots. Getting him interested in carrots are going to help because in a couple weeks to a month or so, he's going to start teething and he's going to want to chew a lot of stuff. So if we can get him to the point where he's used to chewing those baby carrots, the dog's going to lick something first. So he's licking the leather couch. We go to the freezer, pull some of the baby carrots out, rinse the hard frost off. The dog is facing here. We tap the floor here. He turns around and we drop the carrots here. So now he's forgotten about because he's not looking at whatever it was he was about to chew on. Instead, he's chewing on these carrots. Now, if you go to doggoneproblems.com/quest-ed is a section that I created about raising my puppy Quest. And I have videos in there about setting up a puppy playpen, potty training him, making sure he doesn't develop resource guarding, all these sorts of issues that I would suggest you go there because there's going to be a lot of stuff that will be beneficial and will help. Setting up a puppy playroom will help quite a bit. I think there are times where he gets rambunctious because he's tired and he needs a nap, but we don't have a place to put him. If we have a puppy playroom and we can put him in there, then he's going to have a place to go. Now, at first he might whimper a little bit, but we just close the door. If you can set up a security camera, that's great because you can watch him without opening the door. It teaches them to be confident in being alone, which is a skill that a lot of dogs don't have, and it develops something called separation anxiety. The dog will tear holes in walls trying to come and find you. So it helps the dog practice that. Also, when the dog is being rambunctious or not listening, we put him in there, and then he gets to go. It's full of toys. It's got baby gates or a puppy playpen on all the walls so he can't destroy any crown molding. We put vinyl flooring on top of the carpet so he can't chew up any carpet. He's safe and secure. We know he's in a place where he can't cause damage to himself. The great thing about dogs is they get into creatures of habit. And so right now he has electric cords and shoes and leather couches and carpet and all this great fun stuff to chew on, which feels good as a puppy. Well, we set up this puppy playroom. The only thing it's filled with are appropriate chew toys. One of the things the family was doing is giving him empty water bottles and cardboard stuff. Well, we don't want to give the dog anything that's not an official dog toy. If you go to Dog Quest Ed section of my website, there's a section on dog toys where I talk about the different types of toys: pull toys, roll toys, squeaker toys, plush toys. We want to have a variety to stimulate the dog. Speaking of stimulating the dog, as he's trying to get away, I would like to see the family start feeding him out of toys. Now, I do have a special section page on Quest Edge specifically about this. In the bottom of the page, I have links to the toys that I fed my dog out of. This makes toys more appealing to the dog because they distribute food. Instead of feeding him in his bowl, and the family right now is free feeding him. I fed my puppy 5 times a day. I'd like this dog to be fed at least 3 times a day. And so, and it'd be great if you could be the one who feeds him so that he sees her as more of an authority figure. And again, she can do it from behind the gate, so she doesn't have to pet or interact with him. She just puts the food into the containers, then she puts the ball in there and he nudges the ball around. So she doesn't have to touch him, but all of the food has her scent on it. So that makes her more appealing and more of an authority figure to him. Let me see, what else? To disagree, we're going to either make a hissing sound or a clap very loud to try to distract him from whatever it is he's doing. But if he's being rambunctious, getting in a lot of trouble, that's a good time to put him in the puppy playroom. If he's not can be supervised, put him in the puppy playroom. We want him to get used to chewing on appropriate chew toys and not inappropriate things. And again, if we can get him to the point where he starts eating his food and having to work for his food, that makes those toys more appealing and it makes him feel good about it because he got that food to come out of the ball himself. Let me see, what else do we want to do? I'm trying to think. It's important that whoever feeds him should eat first. So she should have a carrot or cracker or something like that, and she eats it first, so that way the dog sees that she has more authority than he does. Now, something else we can do is, because he's not super tactile, he wanted to run away, I've been feeding him these treats while I have him in my lap. That might not be a bad thing to do as well for one of the meals. Instead of having him eat it out of his food, maybe you have a thing of his kibble here in a little bowl. You grab it, put a little bit in your hand, and he eats it out of your hand while you pet him. So now we're associating ingesting food, which is a positive thing, with being touched. And you can see at first he wanted to get all the treats. He wanted to wander away, so I kept on going back to the treats. But now he's content licking me. Now, licking is okay as long as it doesn't become profusive. Let me see. Passive training, petting with a purpose, or saying thank you, really making, and that's, the other thing is the M&Ms. So get the jar, and every time the kids ask the dog to sit and pet him for sitting, they get an M&M added to their jar. Every time they take him out for potty break, they get an M&M in the jar. Every time that they don't do the wrong thing, they get an M&M. So this way, dogs learn through repetition, consistency, and timing. If we can give the kids a reward for doing the things that we want, now the kid's going to do more of them, and the dog is going to learn faster because it's getting those things repeated over and over. But I think that for the child who is not a big fan of Scouts when he's boisterous, is setting up a chart, and again, having her engage with him when he's in that calm time, when he comes home from doggy daycare, when he has the lulls. When he's in the spike, that's not the time. Then she can go up to her room and do other things. We put him in a puppy playroom, and it's full of toys. He gets to run around and rampage and have a great time. But it'll help with his socialization skills, which is really important. A dog doesn't really develop the personality they're going to have as an adult until they're about 6 months old. So if you start taking him to puppy play, he's 4 months old right now, right? So if you take him for the next 2 or 3 months, you're going to start seeing more of the personality he has, and he develops good social skills like we do. Kids who are homeschooled nowadays are still, their parents arrange play dates, so they have those social skills when they go to college. They know how to interact with kids, ask a kid out on a date, or whatever the case may be. All right, I think I'm probably forgetting some other things, but the guardians can always call me or text me. I'm always available to my clients after the fact. Scout, you did very good, buddy. We enjoyed having you in the puppy class. We enjoyed working with you today. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.